For 30 years, the Long Island serial killer haunted one of America's wealthiest communities. Bodies kept appearing and families demanded answers. The FBI had nothing, until one tiny clue changed everything. In December 2010, a police officer and his cadaver dog are searching for a missing woman along Ocean Parkway in Long Island, New York. What they found instead was a nightmare. Not one body, not two, but 4 sets of human remains wrapped in burlap, hidden in the thick brush along a desolate stretch of beach. Within days, investigators discovered 6 more bodies, 10 victims total, all women, all disposed of in the same calculated manner. This wasn't random. This was the work of a serial killer who had been operating undetected for over a decade. The media dubbed him the Long Island serial killer. Some called him the Gilgo Beach killer, but to the FBI, he was simply unknown. The victims were mostly prostitutes who advertised online. They had disappeared between 1996 and 2010. Their families had reported them missing, but nobody connected the dots until now. The killer had chosen his victims carefully. People society often overlooks. People whose disappearances wouldn't trigger immediate massive searches. It was cold, it was calculated, and it was about to become one of the FBI's most frustrating cold cases. The FBI assembled a task force, dozens of agents, behavioral analysts, forensic experts. They had one mission: identify the killer before he struck again. But this killer was smart, disturbingly smart. He used burner phones that he discarded after each kill. He made taunting calls to victims' families from crowded locations like Times Square and Madison Square Garden, where surveillance cameras couldn't isolate him. He knew forensic science. The burlap wrapping prevented DNA transfer. The remote dump sites had no witnesses, no cameras, no evidence. Years passed. The investigation went cold. 2011 became 2015. 2015 became 2020. Families held vigils. The media moved on to other stories. The killer vanished into the shadows, but the FBI never closed the case. And technology was evolving. In 2022, a new team of investigators took a fresh look at the evidence. They had something the original team didn't: advanced DNA analysis and genetic genealogy databases. Remember, the killer had been careful, but he wasn't perfect. On one victim, investigators had recovered a single hair, just one. For years, it sat in evidence storage because the DNA technology wasn't advanced enough to extract a usable profile. But in 2022, everything changed. Forensic scientists used cutting-edge technology to extract DNA from that single hair shaft. They built a genetic profile. Then they uploaded it to genealogy databases used by millions of people searching for their ancestry. And they got a hit. Not a direct match, but a familial connection. A distant relative who had submitted their DNA to trace their family tree had unknowingly provided the key to catching a serial killer. The FBI now had a family tree. They worked backwards, identifying potential suspects who fit the profile. Male between 40 and 60 years old, living on or near Long Island during the murders. Access to burlap material, knowledge of the Ocean Parkway area. One name kept appearing: Rex Heuermann, a 59-year-old architect living in Massapequa Park, Long Island, married with 2 children. By all appearances, a normal suburban family man. But the FBI dug deeper. Heuermann's cell phone records placed him near the locations where victims were last seen. His work involved construction and architecture, explaining his access to burlap and knowledge of remote areas. His physical description matched witness accounts from years earlier. Tall, over 6 feet, heavy build and imposing presence. The FBI needed confirmation. They launched covert surveillance. For months, agents followed Heuermann. They collected his discarded pizza crust from a trash can in Manhattan. They extracted DNA from it. It matched the hair found on the victim. After 30 years, the FBI finally had their killer. On July 13, 2023, Rex Heuermann was arrested outside his Manhattan office. He was charged with multiple counts of murder. When investigators searched his home, they found a disturbing digital trail. Searches for torture methods, evidence of meticulous planning spanning decades. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was a predator who hunted human beings for sport. Heuermann pleaded not guilty, but the evidence is overwhelming. DNA, cell phone records, digital forensics, and witness testimony. The families of the victims finally have answers. Finally have someone to hold accountable. This case changed everything about how law enforcement approaches cold cases. Genetic genealogy is now a standard tool. That single technique has solved hundreds of cold cases across America, like the Golden State Killer.